Hello there, and welcome to the second tour of the first run HoverVehicle11 HoverDriller. My name is Wimperman, and I am the Chief Designer, Chief Builder, Chief Architect, and Chief Dumbass responsible for the original one built before the game was released, and its refit built 8 months ago in December 22, looking too much like a bloody sports car and not enough like a piece of industrial equipment. So, if you watch the refitting of video of the HoverDriller, which I will link in the end screen of the video, as I'm turning this one into this one, I mention about how much I actually like this and how it looks like a sci-fi speeder that you might see in Star Wars or something, and I was going to do a version of it as a kind of upgrade from the hover speeder. I decided I would call it a combat speeder because it's so well armed. Now, I've actually got to that point where I've finished all of the enclosed cockpit and open top utility hover vehicles that were all being refitted into the first run series of vehicles, and I've started to do the addendum vehicles to the first run series, and I got to the point where I was going to do the combat speeder. And while I do like the rounded ones, as I've said, the rounded shapes of this one, it would have been the only vehicle of mine that is rounded. All the rest are angular, like this, and that's why this one is, because I decided to update the style from rounded to, because they were all rounded. And I was thinking, well, I can try to make an angular version of this, but I could see even in my head that it would look too similar to this. And the thing is that it does look like a sports car. It looks like it's supposed to be fast. And that's and it's a driller, a miner, a piece of industrial equipment. And that's like putting some drills on the front of a Ferrari and taking it to dig out some coal. It just makes no sense. Oh, on top of that, one of the problems I always had with this one was that I couldn't get much storage in it. So it's got two lots of 18, so 3600 SU. And when you compare it to the enclosed cockpit variant of the HoverDriller, which has 8000, it kind of is lacking in that area. So when it came time to do the combat speeder, I decided I couldn't in good conscience make a hover speeder that looks exactly the same as a mining vehicle, so I decided to completely replace this, and this is what I've come up with, and I'm pretty happy with it. So as I was or when I started to build it, before I started, I decided I wanted a hybrid between the burrower and the excavator, with the asymmetrical turret, tool turret, and the double Gatling turrets of the Hover Wrecker here. So I think I've done very well in getting a vehicle that looks like a baby version of this, inspired by this. In fact, it's even got the same pods pretty much. I mean, the thrusters are slightly different and the lights, but I mean, basically the light is where the thruster is, so it's the same pod basically. And like I said, the asymmetrical tool turret. Now, I was thinking that I would go with a right-hand drive vehicle because I is British in it, but I thought it might be nice to put the tool turret on the right instead of on the left, considering how many vehicles are asymmetrical and has the tool turrets on the left. I thought it would make a nice difference, so that's what I've done with that. Right, so I'll take you through the features of this vehicle now, starting with its role and task equipment. So, as I've touched on already, it's a mining vehicle. And if we turn on the drills signal, we'll see it has 4 mechanical drills and a drill turret that can be operated by the passenger seat that's behind it. It also has the patented Wimpo Man hazard beacons on the back. So in case this is the first vehicle you see, there are 3, so that when you're not looking at them, it looks like you have a strobe on each side of the vehicle that strobes 3 times. Although for some reason it looks like only twice, but you know. Yeah, kind of. It seems to be better in other vehicles, I don't know why. Okay, so that's its equipment it uses to fulfill those tasks. Now we will move on to its propulsion and lift capacity. Okay, so let's start with the hover engines. It has 4 large hover engines on by default at the extremities of the vehicle, and that's to make it more stable when driving over hills at speed. It also has a little switch to turn those off and turn on the mining hovers down the centre of the vehicle. That's to keep it more stable when you're nearly stationary over the little pointy bits of ground left behind as you're drilling. And it has a max lift function which turns on 4 small hover engines at the back. Lift wise, in 1 G of gravity it can lift 408 tons with max lift on. In 2 Gs of gravity, 2 Gs of gravity, the G stands for gravity. In 2 gravities of gravity it can lift half of that, 204. And in 4 gravities of gravity it can lift 102 tons. Now the vehicle itself weighs 22. So basically in 4G with max lift on you can lift another 4 times as much as the vehicle weighs, give or take. Thrust wise, yeah, I'll turn max lift off. So forward it has 4 medium tier 1 thrusters plus 2 more on the outboard for max lift. Reverse, it has 4 medium tier 1 thrusters. And its lateral thrust, again, it has 4 medium tier 1 thrusters. 1 each on each side is also set to max lift. This vehicle has no RCSs, so the stats is what you get. So 32 without max lift, and it's 40 with it. Yes. Which obviously will worsen as you fill it with stuff. And finally, it has 2 of what I call jump boosters. I would have liked to have got another one on there, really, but meh. Never mind. Okay, next is the power, fuel, and air. So, its power generation is provided by 2 large generators that are hiding in the front of the vehicle underneath the tool turret. There is one on the center line and then one to the right of that. There isn't one there because... Oh, actually, you could put one there. I was going to say because the seat was there, and then I remembered I moved the front forward. Still, if you need more power for any reason, if you can get into here, you can remove the 2 blocks. Oh no, it would be under the seat. Well, if you don't mind, you know, getting your feet hot, it's fine. So, two generators. It also has 5 large fuel tanks. There's one there accessible to the personnel, and then there's 4 more around the bottom of that, 2 of which are set behind it. Air is whatever atmosphere you happen to be in. There is no O2 station, no O2 tanks, and it clearly isn't airtight. So that's the end of that. Next is the weapons and defences. Nice and simple. On the turret's signal is 2 Gatling turrets. And the Gatling turrets are set to those targets. Mainly small grid vehicles and drones, and the weaponry of those. Although it will also shoot predators. Yes, if only Arnie had one of these. As in one of the turret, not one of the. I'm not sure what he would do with a mining vehicle. Still, maybe he could have escaped in it. There we go. Next then is the interior and the construction. Well, the interior is pretty simple. It's exposed to the outside, so you can see what's in it. As you can see, it's got the usual LCD screens for the driver, so that they can see which key bindings will operate which toggles, or toggleables I meant to say. Its construction is almost completely steel, although the floor is mostly carbon composite. The exterior frame, the outside blocks are steel, but everything else is carbon on the floor. And then underneath, most of it is carbon, but there is some steel protecting the squidgy bits, especially the core. Also, the steel I've used, the block shapes, are mostly half block shapes, and the variants of those, there are some exceptions, like for example there and there, but mostly it's the half block shapes. Next we will talk about its storage and other devices. So, one of the reasons I wanted to get rid of that, as I said, is it only has 3600 SU. This one has 8000 SU, just like its counterpart, which isn't this one, I don't think. It's actually the bigger one, isn't it? No. There you go. Yeah, so not the burrower, it must be the dozer. Yeah, so the enclosed and the open top mining vehicles have the same SUs of storage. There we go. It also has a, 375 ammo container for the turrets, as well as 5 small cargo boxes. There are 3 on the back wall. One I've designated for small arms, ammo and weapons, one for meds, and then another one here which is in the mirror image place for the T2 extender there, which is I've set to equipment, and the other 2 of the 5 are in the backs of the thruster pods, much like, not that one, this one. Yes. Is that the end of the storage? Mini fridge. Did I mention the mini fridge? There's a mini fridge. So there's the mini fridge. Yeah, I believe that's all of the storage that you get on this vehicle. Next then is the shortcuts and signals. Some of those you've already seen as I've been opening up the control panel. Propulsion, etc. Turns off the hover engines, the default hover engines, and all of the thrusters. The max lift, as you saw, turns on the small hover engines and some of the extra thrusters. Headlights is self-explanatory. 2 on the sides and 1 on the top. The one on the top is kind of a homage. It's taken its design cue from the extractor here. No. excavator. I always make that mistake. I am... So, story time with Wimp. The enclosed cockpit version of the hover excavator here, I was going to call the extractor, tongue-in-cheek, as I keep making the mistake, so I might as well call one of them extractor. But I decided against that when I actually got round to building the enclosed cockpit version, because I'm already calling this vehicle extractor when I don't even have a vehicle that's called extractor. When I have a vehicle called extractor, it'll then confuse the problem even more, compound the problem, I should say. So I decided against it. But these mining vehicles with their mechanical drills, I mean, even like I've drilled into the ground over here somewhere there to take screenshots of these mining vehicles actually digging. Oh my god, they suck. I mean, once the laser drills are on them, they're pretty good, but with mechanical drills, it just sucks ass. So I'm actually planning to do a couple similar to this, where instead of the multi-turret, it's a drill turret, but it has no manual drills on it, no fixed drills. The problem is that I'm running out of names for mining vehicles that isn't just called Hover Miner or Hover Digger. You know, I've already got those. So I am actually going to have at some point a Hover Extractor. Anyway, yeah, story time with Wimp over. Fuck's sake. So, what was I talking about? Oh, the signals and shortcuts, yes. So, sorry about that. Right, so headlights. The tail lights, of course, are the little red flares on the back. There and there. Then we have power save. Now on this vehicle, that turns off the right-hand generator, the Wi-Fi, which I haven't shown yet, it's under there. Oh yeah, I didn't do the other devices of storage and other devices. Anyway, so it turns off the Wi-Fi there, and it turns off the 2 LCD screens. And I think that's it, because everything else is turned offable in other ways. I mean, to be honest, the other devices, there aren't anything else, really. So the back end is full of container extensions. There's nothing else in the front. Oh, other than the harvest module and the Wi-Fi. There you go. So harvest module and Wi-Fi. Duh. So back to the signals again. So the drills, explanatory. You saw me pop those out earlier. The mining hovers again. It turns off the outboard hover engines and turns on the inboard ones. The turrets and the interior lights is the last one. Now, nice and simple, just to light up the area in case it's night time and you want to see what you're doing. Now, that brings us to the last thing, upgrading. And to be honest, it isn't really built to be upgraded. Now, I have thought about how I would use this myself. And I think if it was me, I would pick up that block on top, remove that cargo box, and then put 2 tier 3 extensions there. I might even be bothered to change the block shape in a little bit, but I don't know. And then that would allow me probably to put on the laser drills. Although, I don't actually know how much more CPU they use. So CPU of the mechanicals is 200, and CPU of the lasers is... Okay, well... Although, I think the power usage might be different, mightn't it? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I just meant to point at it, not click on it. Energy in, 250. 650, yeah, so you're going from 1,000 power to fucking maths in it. 1200, 24 plus another 200, so 2600 power. And the two generators are 1500 each. Yeah, so yeah, you'll probably need an extra generator to run laser drills, and the CPU is 187. Okay, it's entirely possible. Yeah, alright, well, upgrading wise then, I mean, unless you want to upgrade some of the thrusters, which you could very well do. So if you want more thrust, then those blocks, as I've said, put in the tier 3s there. If all you want is the additional laser drilling power, then you can replace those easily, and if you don't mind getting hot feet, you can pop another generator in here. You might even be able to get away with just a small generator, and that would still be within the tier 2 CPU. Right, so that'll be the end of the tour. Thank you very much for listening to me waffle on about those and the excavator extractor story. So hopefully you get some enjoyment and some use out of the newest HoverDriller, and hopefully I'll see you in another video for a different build. So thank you again, and goodbye.